سيدنا محمد سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له. كان الله ولا مكان فهو الآن على ما عليه كان. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال ولله المثل الأعلى. تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود وعن الحركة والسكون وعن الاتصال والانفصال. لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء ولا يحل هو في شيء، لأنه ليس كمثله شيء. مهما تصورت لذلك فالله لا يشبه ذلك. ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله، أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين، هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين، كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. أما بعد، فنذكر أنفسنا بإخلاص النية لله تعالى. I praise Allah, I glorify Him and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated. And I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and to protect his Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne and He is not attributed with fatigue like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger, sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything that He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending this session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise will be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the deed seeking the acceptance of Allah only, and not the praise of the people. So alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah and we are thankful that we have been guided to Islam, which is the greatest endowment. Because the one who dies as a Muslim is guaranteed paradise. So either he will enter paradise without previous torture because he died as a pious Muslim, or because he died as a Muslim with no enormous sins, or he will enter paradise with torture and with previous torture. If he died with enormous sins, if the Muslim died with enormous sins without repenting, and he is not forgiven. So the Muslim who dies with enormous sins, if he is not forgiven by Allah, then he will be tortured for some time in hellfire. But then eventually he will be taken out and he will enter paradise. And this can only be achieved through the virtue of Islam. Yani, only the Muslim, he gets that virtue, he gets that merit. So dying as a Muslim, being a Muslim, having the creed of a Muslim, this is what allows, and this is what gets the Muslim, or this is what gets the individual to enter paradise without previous torture. With eventually entering paradise, is the person who dies as a Muslim. As for the one who is accountable and he dies as a non-Muslim, then he only gets tortured from the moment of death until no end. May Allah protect us from that, Ameen. So this shows the great value. This shows the great value and the great virtue of Islam. So we are grateful to Allah and we are thankful to Him that He has endowed upon us the endowment of Islam. And we are grateful to Allah and we are thankful that He has guided us to have access to the authentic knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The knowledge that the Prophet ﷺ came with, that he received through the revelation, and the knowledge that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ absorbed, that they learned from him, and the knowledge that they passed on to those Muslims that came after the Prophet ﷺ, and so on and so forth, generation after generation until reaching us. So for us, the people that are living right now, how do we know what the Prophet ﷺ said? How do we know what the Prophet ﷺ taught? We know it because the companions, they learned it from the Prophet ﷺ. We know it because the people who were there with the Prophet ﷺ, they learned it from him and then they passed on that information. So for us to be connected to that information through that chain of narration is a virtue, and it is something great, and it is a great endowment, because that way we can be sure about what the Prophet ﷺ said or did. We can be confirmed that the Prophet ﷺ said that, and the Prophet ﷺ taught that. Without that chain, there's no way that the person would be able to know. Without that chain, then the person would be using his own opinion, using his own preference, using his own bias, using his own bias, using his own interpretation, using his own way of thinking, and of course that leads the person astray. Because the one who follows something other than what the Prophet ﷺ came with, then that person of course is wrong. That person would be misguided. That person would not be correct. So alhamdulillah, we're going to continue on with the explanation of Abu Shuja in English. And we finished talking about the 4 types of waters. So yes, there's 7 that are mentioned in the beginning, right after the introduction in the first chapter, but then those are divided into 4 categories. Review time. So what are the 4 categories of water? Yeah, I think Sarah got one. Good. Okay. Okay, that's a good detail. Who knows the detail? How about your friend there next to you? How about your friend there next to you? Next to you. Yeah.
The detail what?
So she said purifying, and then she said pure but not purifying, and then she said disliked. So this one, she.
The pure and not purifying breaks down into categories. The disliked water. The water that the used water.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the water that was used in lifting a ritual impurity, removing a najis filth, but the water itself did not become najis filthy. So then in that case, you want to go into all the details or just...
No, just the 4 categories.
And then in that case, it would be considered used water.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
who can name all 4 categories?
Well, that's the 2 end of one of the 4 categories.
Yeah, so we're missing some. Okay. So they said pure, purifying, pure, not purifying, and then not just water. So that's 3. I know that I'm not the greatest mathematician on the earth, but I know that we're missing one. And which category is that? Because we mentioned 3 only.
That's the water that's too hot or too cold.
Yes, okay. Alright, so can you name all 4 categories?
Dislike is not a category on its own?
Not exactly how they mention it. So it's pure and purifying, not disliked. Pure and purifying, disliked. Pure, not purifying, filthy. So that's the one. Remember, I told you in the Islamic law they're very technical. Like they don't do it facetiously, like just without a wisdom or without a reason. They're very exact. So for people that, let's say, are in tune or in line with the Islamic law in that way, and that's something like a way that I guess the scholars of the Islamic law, like that's their way of like being lighthearted and playful. Is like they'll mention something that technically it's like not like that, but if you mention it to someone, their first thought is that it's like that, and like it's just. If I think of an example, I'll mention it. But something similar comes to my mind is like when the Prophet ﷺ, when he asked the companions, when the companions they asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for camels to ride on. So they asked him for something to ride on. And he told them, would the child of the camel suffice? Like he used those words, like the child of the camel suffice. And they're like, how are we gonna ride on baby camels? And he's like, well, a grown camel is still the child of the camel.
Technically it's true.
Yeah, technically it's true. But what they thought is they're thinking about a baby. Because that first thing that comes to your head about the child of the camel is that. But so people that are in line with the Islamic law, they sometimes they would like talk that way or like mention something like that to be lighthearted. MashaAllah, okay. And basically what I'm saying is some people, they would be very technical and precise with their words. And the people that, for example, are talking to them or that are listening to them, that they might understand something from it. But the person that is saying it, and they're saying it specifically, exactly, because it's a very specific thing. The person who's listening, they understand it like something else, like in a general way. And then the person would, sometimes it's funny. Like sometimes you can get like a laugh out of it. But then sometimes people, they misunderstand that issue. So we got to the chapter of tanning. So the 4 categories of water, we talked about them. Pure and purifying, not disliked, that's the absolute water. Pure and purifying, disliked, that is the sun-heated water. Okay, last chance. Let's see who wants for redemption. What is the sun-heated water? So we said the second category is the pure and purifying water that is disliked to use. And we said that is the sun-heated water. So what is the sun-heated water? Okay. It's in a metal container. No, that's the exception. So even though gold is metal, but if there was a container of gold in it, like I say, a golden bucket, and there was water in it, and it got sun heated with the other conditions, it wouldn't be disliked to use it because it's sun heated. Because for the gold, since the composition of the gold is pure, it's such a pure level, that foam that occurs for the other types of metals doesn't occur with the gold. So it would be disliked in that sense, but we said it would be haram to use because it's haram to use utensils made out of gold and silver for both men and women. But so the first condition is that it has to be in a metallic container other than gold and silver. That's what's the other one?
Hot region.
In a hot region. And that's it.
Well, it's heated by the sun.
Yeah, heated by the sun.
Not by fire.
Heated by the sun. So the sun-heated water is the disliked, pure and purifying disliked water, and it's considered heated by the sun, or it's considered to be this disliked water, if it was heated by the sun in a metallic container in a hot country, or in a hot land.
But like a metallic container that can like be folded. There was a detail in the book about it.
Folded?
I remember.
Yeah, they just say what gets molded by hammers, which is like metal. And another one, what is disliked to do with the sun-heated water? What is disliked to do with it? It's pure and purifying, disliked to use it on the body, which includes purification, but it doesn't exclude everything else. To drink, and that's using it on the body. So the thing that encompasses all of it, another example, the precision thing. So they say to use it on the body, which includes making wudu, making ghusl, bathing with it, not even just not doing ghusl for purification, just taking a shower with it to clean yourself would be disliked to use that one, and drinking it. MashaAllah. But so since the author is talking about purification, this is still the book of purification. Since that is the case, now we finished talking about the water. We defined what purification is. We talked about the different types of water. Now we're moving on to something related to purification, which is a different type of purification that is not through water. Okay? So this type of purification is called transformation. Okay? They call it ihada, transformation. And this is like tanning the skins of dead animals. So whoever has the book, we're on page 31. Starting with page 31, you see that. Tanning the skins of dead animals. Remember, we're reading above the line, and then we're reading below the line. The author said, the skins of dead animals can be purified by tanning, except the skin of the dog, the pig, whatever is born of them or from either of them. The bones and hair of the dead are najis filthy, except those of the human. So, just so you know, even in English, right, since we're doing this in English, but still, even studying the Islamic law in English, you have to know that, for example, when it says tanning, it means a specific thing. When it says the bones and hair of the dead, it means a specific thing. And when it says the dead, it means not slaughtered. So the dead here is referring to meita. Okay, just an insight. So that's the part above the line. Now we're going below the line. It says, Judge Abu Shuja mentioned tanning next after water because water is the way to purify and tanning is the way to purify some things. Tanning purifies najis filthy skins of meita, meaning of the dead, except the skin of a dog or a pig or the animal born as a result of their copulating or any one of them copulating with another animal. So if a dog and a pig, they copulate and then they have offspring, that hybrid of the dog and the pig is filthy and their skins cannot be tanned. If a dog and any other animal have a baby together, then also that hybrid is filthy and the skin of it cannot be tanned. And the same thing if a pig has a baby with any other animal other than a dog, then that hybrid is filthy and the skin cannot be tanned. Clear? No. So now it says, the meita, and then there's a footnote number 6. We're going to read it after we finish the sentence. So for now, the format that we're going to do is we're going to read each footnote as it comes up. So that way, we don't accumulate footnotes, and also so the idea is fresh in the mind. It says, the meita is any animal that died without being killed according to Islamic law. Footnote number 6. The meita might be an animal that is edible, and it might be an animal that is not edible. If an edible animal is slaughtered according to Islamic law, then its leather is pure and it does not need to be tanned. However, the leather from the meita, whether the animal is edible or not, other than the dog and the pig and what was born from them or from one of them, becomes pure by tanning. The outside and inside of the leather becomes pure. If a sheep was meita due to dying out of suffocation, for example, then all of it is najis, filthy. Its hair, the wool, all of it. And those things do not become pure by tanning. Only the leather does. Now, if one removes the hair, fur, and feathers of an edible animal while it is alive, then these items are considered pure. So, many things to unpack here. First thing, when we say meita, we're talking about an animal that was not slaughtered Islamically. When we talk about animals that are slaughtered Islamically, we're talking about animals that are Islamically edible. What does it mean, edible? It means if you were to slaughter it Islamically, you can eat it. Because even if you slaughter a pig and Islamically, you still can't eat it. So the pig is not an edible animal. The dog is not an edible animal. There's certain animals that are not edible. So even if you slaughter them, you cannot eat their meat. So in that case, that part is clear. Next thing to clarify is any edible animal, any animal that is edible in Islam, if you slaughter it and you slaughter it Islamically, then you can eat the meat and every part of it, and besides the filth inside of it and besides the flowing blood, is pure. Right? So the meat is pure, the bones are pure, the feathers are pure, the hair is pure, the skin is pure, right? So you don't need to purify it after you slaughter the animal. Okay? Clear on that? Now, if the animal is edible, right? So we understand what edible means. If the animal is edible, and while it's alive, a feather falls off of it, or is shaved off of it, or the hair is shaved off, that hair is judged as what? Pure. So, and this, one way to help you remember this is by remembering the rule. The judgment of a piece of an animal that comes off the animal while alive is the judgment of that animal if it were meita, except the edible animal. So the judgment of a piece of an animal that comes off the animal while alive has the same judgment as that animal if it were dead, except the edible animals. Okay? So if there's a sheep and you shave it while it's still alive, those pieces of hair, the wool off the sheep, is pure. If a bird loses a feather that is edible, that feather is pure. But now if, let's say, if the animal was edible and it wasn't slaughtered, right? The animal died from a sickness or whatever. It died in a way that's not Islamically slaughtering it. Then the whole animal is filthy. Even if it was originally edible, it's filthy, and its hair is filthy, and its fur is filthy. So when we're talking about tanning, you're going to see it, he's going to mention that you take all that stuff off. You take off the meat and the hair and everything. The only thing that's left is the skin, the leather. But then he says, the skin of the meita is najis, filthy, but there is a way to make it pure. Footnote number 7. The skin leather of a meita is a najis entity, but with tanning it converts to a pure entity. Just as alcohol can convert to something pure as what happens when you pickle something. Blood might convert into musk. The gazelle pools some of its blood near its stomach, which converts to musk. This musk is pure. So we said, we call it transformation here. They're using the term convert. And it was transforming. And it transforms from being filthy it transforms from the filthy entity that it is to another entity. Like one example that everybody knows and understands is vinegar. First it's alcohol that's forbidden, and then if you let it sit long enough time, it transforms into vinegar. It's no longer alcohol, now it's vinegar, now it's halal, now you can eat it. Or now it's pure, now you can eat it. No, the author said. So this is now, he's going to explain the process of how to tan. He said, one takes the skin of the meita and tans it, and so it becomes pure. One can then wear it, pray with it, or pray on it. To do that, one has to use something hirif. This is the Arabic term, and it's any acrid substance. If you look up acrid, it's something that is, and it's similar to acidic, and it's something that it makes things dissolve and come off. Footnote number 8. It is something that yalda, and it stings, meaning it has lada properties, stinging properties. An example of something that yalda, stings, is if you put a battery on your tongue. You feel this lada. The peel of a pomegranate has that property. So for example, one would use the peel of the pomegranate to rub off all the pieces of meat, fat, small bones, hair. One removes everything that is attached to the leather to a point that if one were to soak that leather in water, it would not cause rotting to the water. It says afan, which means rotting. Because if any of those items had remained on the leather and one placed it in water, it would cause the water to get to the state of afan, rotting. Once the leather is free from all those items, the leather entity becomes pure. But it is mutanajjis. So one will need to clean it with water to remove the najasa. It says, according to Imam al-Shafi'i, salt and soil are not considered a hirif with lada properties. Likewise, to let it sit in the sun and aerate does not take the place of a hirif, acrid. Examples of hirif, afs, is a black fruit from a particular tree. Bird droppings can be used as a hirif. Here's some extra details. And the point is, for tanning, how do you remove all that stuff? You have to use a substance that is hirif. What is hirif? It's an acrid substance. What does it mean? It is like a type of substance that has a sting to it that takes things off. It says, any acrid substance, that is a substance which when one puts it on the skin, it takes off fat and meat, which remain on skin and similar matters. One needs to use such substance in tanning, so the skin becomes pure. Hence, one uses it in a way that if one puts the skin in water, it does not rot. After doing that, one purifies it with water. So that's basically what happens. They take the skin, they use this acrid substance. The acrid substance then takes off the flesh, takes off the fat, takes off the hair, and only the skin is left. Huh? The hair too, yeah. In the Shafi'i school. In other schools, they say different things about the hair, but I don't have, I'm not an expert on those details. But in the Shafi'i school, for example, like some people, they have like they're like, I don't know, carpets, not a carpet, but like something you sit on, and it's like it's fluffy, like a bearskin rug. This one has the bear fur on it. So that would be according to other than a Shafi'i, because for what I know, the bear is not edible. Then the author said, it is not a condition that this acrid substance be pure to use it. So one can use plants or droppings of birds. And in both cases, after washing the skin, it becomes pure. In the Shafi'i school, it is a condition to take off the hair of the skin. But if only few hairs remain, it is overlooked, and if it's a little amount. It becomes pure because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that he saw a dead animal and said what means, why did they not take its skin, tan it, and benefit from it? So this is the proof that the Imam al-Shafi'i that he used for the tanning. And not only as Shafi'i, others also. So that hadith is known. This was narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. And the Prophet ﷺ, he saw a dead animal, and he said what means, why did they not take its skin, tan it, and benefit from it? So he's telling the companions that if they were to tan it and take its skin and tan it, they could benefit from it. Because he said, why didn't they do that? Meaning that they could do that. In a hadith and in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said what means, any skin of a dead animal except the skin of the pig and dog and what came from them or from one of them, if you tan it, it becomes pure. The skin of the pig and dog, even if one tans them, they remain still najis, filthy. And their skin does not become pure by tanning. Also, if a dog or pig copulates with another animal and as a result an animal is born, its skin is also najis, filthy, and does not become pure by tanning. This is so because the judgment follows the worst among them. Yani the judgment in the Islamic law, and what. So, for example, if a dog and another animal have a baby, then what would be the judgment of that baby? So in the Islamic law, they give the judgment of that baby the judgment of the lower of its two origins. So we'll be given the judgment of the dog. Because the dog is the worser of the two. So it says, so if a dog and a wolf mate, and as a result an animal is born, it is najis, filthy. There are some breeds, supposedly, of dogs that are dogs and wolf, or whatever. Wolf dogs. Any questions so far about that? Anything, anybody in the chat?
I just want to clarify, because it sounded like you said that the tanning is only referring to the edible animals.
No. Any animal, whether edible or not, except the dog and the pig, or they're hybrid, or a hybrid of one of them. And if I did, maybe it was a slip of the tongue, but I don't recall that. Someone asked, what is the name of the book? The name of the book is At-Taqreeb. Matn al-Ghayati wa-Taqreeb. It's the name of the book in Arabic. And it's famously known as the Matn of Abu Shuja. Okay. Moving on. the author said, Ihab is jild, skin of the Maita. This is, I don't know what's in parentheses, but it's referring to an Arabic term called Ihab. The skin, oh, I already read that. Okay, now I'm moving on to the next paragraph. The bones and hair of the Maita are najis filthy, and not just the skin and meat, except the bones and hair of a human, whether Muslim or Kafir. So footnote number 9, it says, similar to the bone, the hair, the fur, the feathers, the wool, the nail, the hoof of a Maita is najis, except the bones and hair of a human. If one doubted whether the bone, the hair, or the feather used from an edible animal after the animal died was from a slaughtered animal according to Islamic law or not, one judges it as pure. The religion does not restrict us from considering it as pure. The enforced restriction is in regards to the meat. So, the Islamic law has emphasized the restriction on and the prohibition of consuming meat that you are not certain if it is slaughtered or not. So that's why
Somebody's asking about snakeskin boots,
okay,
if they can wear them.
if they get tanned. If they get tanned.
Say it.
Yeah, if they get tanned.
The snakeskin boots.
Yeah, the snakeskin boots if they're tanned. It's a snakeskin like it's not an edible animal according to a Shaykh. Maybe according to other imams it's edible. But you take the skin of the snake, you tan it, you follow the process, and it's pure. But now here what the footnote is saying is that if the person is doubting about meat, is it slaughtered or not? Or not doubting. If they're not sure that it has been slaughtered, and if they don't have the certainty or the confirmation that it has been slaughtered Islamically, then it's forbidden for them to consume it. And that rule only applies to the meat. So for the bone and the hair and the feather of an edible animal, right? You don't know if that bone or hair or feather came from an animal that was slaughtered Islamically. So you don't have the confirmation. But in that case, we judge it as pure. Because here, the hair, bone, and feather is not meat. So remember, we're talking about an edible animal. And this goes back to the rule that you don't judge something as filthy unless it's confirmed. So if you see something and you don't know is it filthy or not, you don't judge it as filthy. Because you have to have confirmation. No. Continuing on, he said, also the sea animals, when they die, they do not become najis filthy, nor do their bones. As for the verse, which literally, according to the apparent meaning, would mean that the kuffar are najis, what the verse means is that their belief is like najis, or avoid them like avoiding najis. And this does not mean that their bodies are najis filthy. So here the author mentions that, and because we're talking about najis, filth, and stuff like that, was najis filthy? And we said that if something is dead, something is made dead, then itself and the hair and the bones and the skin and all that is filthy, except humans. So if a human being dies, his hair is not filthy, his skin is not najis, and his body does not become najis after dying, even if the person that died is a kafir. So an ignorant person might say, well, what about the verse that apparently, or if someone takes it literally, the verse says the non-Muslims are najis. The term najis is used to talk about the non-Muslims. So we respond with, the term najis was used, but it's not literal. It doesn't mean that the dead body of the kafir is najis, and that if you touch it with moisture, that you have to go and purify that spot. No. It just means that their creed is najis, and meaning their creed is filthy. Or it means avoid the non-Muslim, and because 9 times out of 10 they're bad influence and they are, they're blasphemers. So they live their lives without any rules. They'll eat anything, they'll do anything, they'll say anything. They'll put anything inside of their bodies because they don't have any rules. That's the majority of them, like I said, 9 times out of 10. So that's what the verse is referring to. The verse is saying their creed is najis. The verse is saying avoid them like you avoid najis. Not that if a kafir dies, that his body becomes najis. Any questions about that before moving on? The author said, according to Abu Hanifa, one does not need to take out the hair. There you go. That's for all the bearskin rug people out there. So fur coats, according to him, are permissible. Oh, fur coats. SubhanAllah. Next note. Huh? Yeah. Note the judgment of a part of an animal that is cut off from the animal while alive follows the rule of the maytat of the animal. Footnote number 10. Anything that separates from an alive animal, whether it is cut off or it falls off, one would judge that part based on the maytat of that animal to determine if that part is najis or not, except for like the feather, wool, or the hair of an edible animal. And so we mentioned that already. Let's go back. Back to the first one. I skipped one note. The first note. If a pregnant edible animal was slaughtered and as a result the fetus dies, then it is permissible to eat that fetus. One does not need to cut its neck. The slaughtering of the animal made the fetus edible. This is per the hadith, which means the slaughtering that renders the mother edible renders the fetus edible. If the fetus is brought out alive, then to eat it one has to slaughter it, because it did not die by the slaughtering of the mother. It is permissible to slaughter the pregnant animal. And I think actually there is a delicacy, I think, with a certain type of animal. I don't know if it's a lamb or a cow, but like the baby.
Yeah, my God.
Oh yeah? What is it, the cow?
Veal.
Veal.
Veal, yeah.
Because it's like very tender,
Yeah.
very tasty too.
It's so expensive.
You eat it with a sad face?
Yeah, because I saw it on the
You were saying like, it's very tasty. But looking sad. Tasty and sad. Then the second note, we read it, and then the third note now, back to the third note. The judgment of a part of an animal that is cut off from the animal while alive follows the rule of the mayta of the animal. So a leg of a sheep that is cut off while alive is najis because the mayta of a sheep is najis. Footnote number 11. Shat is either... Yeah, we're doing each footnote as it comes on. Which note?
It says there are exceptions, however, it's not just.
Where?
You were reading this one.
Yeah, I didn't get there yet. I'm footnote 11. It says, so a leg of a sheep that is cut off while alive is najis because the mayta of a sheep is najis. So now it's footnote 11, and I just finished the sentence so we can have the context. So the word for sheep that can be used in Arabic is shah. So if a shah, it says here, a shah is either a da'in or ma'iz. Da'in is a kharoof, sheep. The male is called kharoof, and the female is called na'ja. Because as you know in Arabic, it's very specific. So there's a word for literally everything. In English, I don't know if they have that separation. Do they call, do they have a different word for a male sheep and a female sheep? Or do they just call both of them sheep?
Male sheep is a lamb.
A male sheep is a ram? Okay, and what's the female sheep? Just sheep? Or a lamb? Is the female sheep a lamb? A lamb can be male also?
I'm not sure. I think there is a distinction sometimes. And a lot of animals, they use bull for the male.
Yeah, that's right.
Even other than cows.
Yeah,
Like moose and stuff, they'll call it a bull for the male.
yeah.
It's only you.
Oh, a U. Is it U or Ewe?
E-U-W-E, it's pronounced.
Oh, it's pronounced U. Okay. Okay, so the female is called U, not Ew. Is that, what's the phonetics on that? It's U like Y-O-U?
That's what it says pronounced Y-O-U.
What? Oh, okay.
But spelled E-W-E.
Alright. So the female sheep is called a ewe, and the male sheep is called a ram. And then he says the male ma'iz is called tais. No, that's a ram. Isn't it?
I don't know.
The tais is a ram. Right?
I think so, yes.
And the female is called anza. But I thought the ma'iz is the goat. So da'in, so we have sheep and goat, right? What's the male goat called?
I think you're right. I think that
Is the male goat also a ram?
I think the male goat might be the ram.
No, it's sheep. A male goat is a buck or a billy.
Oh, a billy, okay. A buck? Alright. There you go, we're learning things. So the male goat is called a buck or a billy. And what is the female called?
It says a
A
nanny.
nanny? Wow. Interesting. But all of that, also in Arabic, can be referred to as a shah. Alright, that concludes footnote 11. Continuing on. It says, if the animal's mayta is pure, then the cut off portion is pure. So the tail of a fish is pure if it is cut off. Because what's the judgment of a dead fish? Is that it's pure, because fish don't need to be slaughtered. Also, a finger of a person cut off is pure. Because what's the judgment of a dead body? Is that it's pure, it's not filthy. There are exceptions, however, such as the hair of the edible animal, the feather, wool, the saliva of the pure animal, and its sweat, the musk and the sack that contains it, which comes from a type of deer when they cut off the sack while the deer is alive. This is pure. So there's exceptions to the rule, usually. Any questions on that before moving on? It says, note, it is permissible to eat 2 meta, meaning 2 dead animals that are not slaughtered. The fish and water animals and the locust. This is per the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by Ibn Majah, which means 2 kinds of blood are edible, the liver and the spleen, and 2 meta are edible, the fish and the locust. As to what can live in and out of the water, it is not permissible to eat. Some kinds of crab are permissible and others are not. And remember, we're talking in the Shafi'i school, in the school of Imam Shafi'i. Any questions about that before moving on? Then we'll start with the next chapter, just for the benefit, and then we'll stop. We don't want to go too far over. The next chapter is the usage of golden and silver containers. So now we're going on to a different chapter, which is talking about the usage of golden and silver containers. Above the line it says, the usage of golden and silver containers is not permissible. It is permissible to use other types of containers. Below the line it says, this chapter pertains to tools and containers. It is not permissible to use golden and silver containers. Footnote 12. And we're going to finish the sentence and then go to that footnote. But it is lawful to use other containers. So footnote number 12. Originally, al-dabba was used to fix utensils like plates and cups if they were cracked or broken. One would, for example, melt brass, gold, silver, or the like to fix with. Sometimes al-dabba is done for ornamental purposes, decorating the utensil with lines of gold, for example. The silver dabba might be large or small. What determines large and what determines small is according to the norm. So this footnote has a lot of details. Maybe I won't read every footnote so that nobody gets confused. But so what the dabba is, in brief, is basically parts, like pieces of gold and pieces of silver that are used to patch up or fix a cracked, let's say, porcelain or something like that. So let's say you have a bowl, like a porcelain bowl, and it falls on the floor and it breaks. Obviously back then, it wasn't like, oh, let's just go to Walmart, or not Walmart, they're canceled. Let's just go to Target and get another bowl, right? It was not exactly like that, right? So people, if they could fix it, they would fix it. So to fix it, they would use these like golden and silver, like, well, yeah, I would say like it's like staples, like stitching, like little brackets to keep it holding together. So now we just said that it's forbidden to use gold and silver containers. But what about if originally it's not gold and silver container, but there's some gold and silver in the container? That's what it's talking about, dabba. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. We'll start the next chapter next time.